One GT Championship. I'm joined tonight by the owner of Project One, BK. How you going, BK?
Oh, Viper, mate, it is absolutely incredible to be back in the booth. It has been way too long.
Tell me about it. And are you as keen as I am to watch 10 laps around Green Hill?
Well, I'll tell you what, right? A lot of drivers, if you ask them what their favourite endurance race was on the calendar, most of them would say the Bathurst 250. But for me personally, it is the Nurburgring 250. It is a completely different beast, and I could not be any more excited to be alongside you today.
Don't think I could have said it better myself. Of course, the championship coming into here has been tightening up a little bit. Ridwan still with the title lead, but Lane trying to close in. Are we expecting anything to change in these coming rounds?
Well, I think that in terms of previous race results and whatnot, I think that if Lane is going to claw back anything from that 130-point deficit he has coming into this race, it would have to be today. Lane has won here a record 4 times. Ridwan only won here once, so history is on Lane's side this afternoon.
4 times. That's mighty impressive from the Team Max Speed owner. And without further ado, what do you say we get into it?
Absolutely. Let's run through our grid, Viper. I'll take that one away. So Lane Everingham, the 4-time race winner, the reigning Drivers' Champion, the reigning Enduro Cup winner. He's on pole. Viper Z in second place. Once again, substituting in for Revo Satellite Racing as they are still on the hunt to sign a third full-time driver. Prying Stingray in third. Season 3 Drivers' Champion Lunacy in fourth with Dynamite in fifth. 2-time Nurburgring 250 winner Bodhod 1 in sixth with the Stone Towel in seventh. Tim Ant in 8th, Blocky Rex in 9th, Orphan Drop rounding out the top 10. And Viper, this is the bombshell. Ridwan qualifies 11th. So not only is he come up against his championship rival at Lane's strongest track, Ridwan has to try and do damage control from 11th. So we'll have to keep an eye on him. BKXI in 12th, Jamo 244 in 13th, Tube NVNZ back in the Team Max Speed, and Viper, I can confirm this now, that Tube has signed a contract with Team Max Speed for the rest of the season. So get used to seeing that name because he's in 14th and Roscoe rounding out the field.
Yeah, that's definitely the big news. Ridwan all the way back in 11th. And although we always say it, that a long race like this, it doesn't necessarily matter where you qualify, it's where you finish, but still not the best foot to be taking. Best step to be taking, I should say, for Ridwan, who desperately needs to keep on scoring these points to stay ahead of Lane.
Yeah, not at all, especially when, like we said, there's 10 cars. Well, 9 cars technically separating himself and Lane today. That's going to be a lot of work for the 14. But if anyone can do it, it's Ridwan. But I suppose we'll have to get to those 5 red lights.
Absolutely. All right, I'll back out of this camera mode that we use for a gorgeous cinematic option there. And what are we going to do? Are we going to count it in together? Or
we'll count it in together.
All right. Hold on, so we're counting in the start of the replay, yes?
We'll do a 3, 2, 1, go, and on the go, we'll hit play.
All right, we're going on go, yes?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. 3, 2, 1, go. God, I hope we got that right. And we've got 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. Revs are building, and there we go. We are off and racing at the Nordschleiffe and Lane with a typical good start for the BRZ. Of course, it's Lunacy trying to follow him through as well, making another great start. My keyboard is bugging around right now, and I'm not happy. Lunacy trying to go down the inside there of Stingray, who's also got a great start. Viper's been swamped. He's all the way back in 4th.
Controversy at turn 2 as well. There has been contact between Blocky and Ridwan. Ridwan dropping down to 13th. Off the start, so he's gone backwards when he should be trying to go forwards. Big movers towards the back end of the field, though. BKXI gaining 4 places, going from 12th to 8th in those opening 2 corners.
Yeah, great start for BK. Of course, it's a bit of a battleground heading into these first opening laps. It is the Nordschleife later, after the GP section, so this is where these guys can dice, as we see Prezzo and Bodhod side by side through the hairpin there, and Prezzo prevailing to hold on to 6th.
Yeah, Prezzo is on the soft compounded tyre, coming up to Dynamite on the medium, so Prezzo will want to try and get past him as soon as they can, and a brilliant start, as has to be noted, by Team Max Speed. Lane in the lead, Lunacy getting that jump up into P2.
Yeah, so that's kind of perfect start there for Team Max Speed. They don't exactly need that pressure. Lane starting on the soft, so his plan is just to absolutely piss bolt off into the lead. And Lunacy going to play rear gunner for a little bit, while Stingray and Viper are off in third and fourth. Both on mediums, importantly, so these guys may be looking for the slower start and the fast finish.
Yeah, it will be interesting to note the difference in strategies here. So it is optimal for Team Max Speed to have the exact start they've had. If Lane and Lunacy can dart off, they will make the most of this stint they have. One thing we have... did we miss it? I'm not even sure. But Prezzo's in 5th. I've only just noticed Prezzo's in 5th. We might have caught it. But Prezzo's in 5th, so he's already hustled past Dynamite. And Bodhod and BK are both going to want to get that same move done as quickly as possible to try and keep up with the 5.
Yeah, I was actually able to see that Prezzo did jump up into P5. Not sure where it happened, but he is indeed putting that GDR up into the top 5 now. Yeah, so it seems like Viper's actually closed up a little bit on Stingray. Viper, of course, probably not looking to stick around for too long, maybe having his sights set on the top 2. Despite the medium tyre, should be pretty confident of his ability to close in that gap.
Yeah, even though it is the medium stint, if you can try and limit the gap to those soft runners, you can have a brilliant crack at those two Max Speed boys later on in the race. So for Stingray and Viper, this is a very crucial stint, just trying to push as hard as you can. And Ridwan already, his resurgence, as we said, he dropped down to 13th after turn 1. He's already back up into 10th, and he'll be soon trying to line up a move on Tim Ant for 9th.
Yeah, a couple of important positions gained there. So you can see he's past the likes of Jackie Prez, Blocky, and I believe back there that might be Jamo. As Ridwan now down the inside of Tim. Very, very aggressive move there from Ridwan. He is not waiting around.
Yeah, that was a beautiful move from Ridwan. He knows he has to get the work, especially after that incident at the first corner. It's not going to do him any favours at all. And a slow start for Blocky. Rex actually dropping down to P12, so not the strongest start there for the Revo Satellite Racing driver.
The co-owner, of course, and the leading driver in the points for Revo. Blocky's been just on the cusp of that top 5, and if it wasn't for a bit of a missing round for him for Dragon Trail Seaside round 1, dare say he'd be up there with the big boys.
Yeah, well, heading into this one, Blocky is 5th in the Drivers' Championship. A very small lead, though, over Stingray in 6th and BKXI in 7th. So it will be interesting to see how Blocky fares compared to those two, with BK in 8th and Stingray right now all the way up in 3rd.
Yeah, exactly right. It's just so important for him to be trying to consolidate points. I know it's only lap 1, but when you've got 2 of your championship rivals well up the field compared to you, and you're stuck behind... well, when I say stuck behind, I didn't necessarily mean stuck, but you're sitting behind the AMG of Jack, and you know you got your work cut out for you.
And one thing as well that I've caught from my perspective, BKXI moving up into 6th, so he's pulled off the double overtake on Bodhod and Dynamite. Yeah, so a brilliant start there for Kennedy Motorsport owner. 12th to 6th in half a lap.
Huge start there from BK, who, let's not make his head too big while he's in the booth with me. But this little 4-car battle right now is actually heating up. Ridwan getting to the back of it now, and he will be wasting no time trying to dispatch these cars.
Yeah, he's trying to get it past Bodhod, but Bodhod just able to keep it in front. Ridwan and Dynamite are the cars in this battle on the mediums, Bodhod and BK on the softs. So Bodhod, it will be crucial for him to try and get past Dynamite as quickly as he can, but I think Dynamite will want to try and sit in the toe of his teammate to try and get a drag along.
Well, and you'd think that'd be ideal as well for the BK Motorsport guys, although I'm sure that's not actually the name of your team. I can't believe I've gone so brain fart there, but we're going to ignore it. Oh, as Ryan there, Dynamite's actually decided to take the high line, and look at the gap that's opened up now to BK. That was a bit of a mistake there from the number 29.
Yeah, not ideal at all. BK able to use the tyre advantage that he has over his teammate to build a nice gap there, so BK could be safe in 6th place right now. And one thing to note, he has the tyre advantage on the guys ahead of him. The Stone Towel is on the back of Stingray and Viper, so Prezzo joins the battle for 3rd.
There we go. Yep, we can just catch him in the rhythm section now. So these guys, interestingly, I thought Viper would be much quicker and much less patient in behind Stingray. These guys had a bit of a battle at Deep Forest, and there's a bit of a pace disparity. But Viper right now, whether he's not actually able to get by Stingray, or he's just biding his time.
Yeah, it will be interesting. Obviously, we know that the tyre wear around here isn't the greatest, so trying to preserve those tyres could be crucial into having a stronger stint later on. So maybe Viper is just trying to save a bit of fuel, save a bit of tyres, and sit in behind Stingray for a bit, and then push later on in the stint when the soft tyres of Lane and Lunacy inevitably die off.
Yeah, some good thoughts there. We'll go forward on as well to Lunacy and Lane, who you can see they've opened up a nice little buffer back to the rest of the pack. Lane with a little bit better front tyre wear as well as Lunacy. So Lane already playing the management game and playing it very, very well.
Yeah, Lunacy got a little bit squirrely coming out of the second carousel as well. He is fine though, but yeah, Lane with that roughly 3 to 4 second lead there over Lunacy on the opening lap. A very strong start from our defending drivers champion. As we're on the back straight now, well, this final straight, we'll see if Prezzo can try and make any moves past Viper Z. It looks like he is going to line one up.
Yeah, very right. So Prezzo pulls out of the slipstream. Of course, that big GTR puts a massive, massive hole in the air. And Stingray as well has just pulled across, so he's going to give the tow all the way to Prezzo. And there's a bit of tactics going on here as Prezzo does actually get the move done. So Viper sits in behind now at the massive GTR. And it looks like he's going to go for 2 as well.
Two. Double overtake there for Prezzo. A big move as... I mean, the tyre difference, Prezzo is on a different strategy, so maybe Stingray was aware of that, wanting to let Prezzo get past without affecting his own race too much. I'm not too sure, but now Prezzo has open air. He needs to try and close down that gap to Lunacy if possible, because remember, Lunacy and Prezzo are battling it out for 3rd in the Drivers' Championship.
Yeah, I think some smart driving all around there. I know all of these boys often do talk to each other mid-race, so I think Prezzo was just...
Viper went for a gap there, almost got his nose completely chopped off.
Oh, I just saw that in the background, actually. I thought Viper had to prop himself up a little bit, and that was a little bit awkward to watch. As we can just go on board with the Revo Satellite Racing driver. As I was saying before, that was really, really clean driving and smart as well to let Prezzo get away. He's on a quicker tyre. There's no way that he's going to want to sit behind these guys and get held up, and I don't think they necessarily want to hold him up either.
Yeah, that's exactly right. All 3 of these guys, well, Stingray and Viper, they could be on the same strategy. We'll assume they are since they've started on the mediums. But, you know, they're running their own races, and if they battle each other now, all of them are going to be negatively impacted by the battling. So we'll see if Prezzo can try and make a bit of a dent into the gap that the Max Speed boys have. Because remember, Team Max Speed aren't that far behind FP Racing in the Team's Championship, and with Ridwan further down the field than normal, and by that I mean he's not first, it's a great opportunity for Team Max Speed to try and claw back some points against the Nissan crew.
Couldn't agree more. It's been a bit of a blowout in the way of Team's Championship. It's just hasn't really panned out the way that we all expected it to. Even from the very first day when we saw the draft results, things just haven't really gone how we predicted them.
Yeah, well, some people were right here predicting a maiden Team's Championship in their first attempt from Present Engineering, considering the fact that Jack and Stingray came 2nd and 3rd in the Drivers' Championship last season, and that one ultimately, at the moment, isn't panning out too well. They are 3rd heading into this, and they're a lot closer to Kennedy Motorsport in 4th than what they are to Team Max Speed in 2nd. So, were their expectations too high on Present Engineering, or are their drivers just underperforming? That's one thing we'll have to fucking find out.
I'm
I've just realised what I've done.
Yep. Redacted.
Redacted.
I'm going to join the conversation there. It's a great discussion to have. I do actually think that they were the early favourites for the team's title. You know, Stingray needs no introduction. He's been a quick driver ever since the inception of this league. And Jack, at his breakout season last season, was incredible. You know, to be 2nd behind Lane It was second or third, actually, my mistake. I believe he was second.
He took the fight to the final round. He was in contention all the way until the very end.
He was driving incredibly well, and I think
in
that
the same car as Lane too. Remember, they were teammates to Team Max Speed last season.
Well, where I was going with that, in fact, because we can't forget Bodhod is an absolute seasoned pro as well, is I don't think we can really ignore just how important it is to have someone like Lane Everingham heading your team.
Exactly, Lane's experience, his professionalism, it's unmatched in terms of just having a team leader, and I think I think his leadership in a team is absolutely second to none. And Team Max Speed have, could you consider Lane underrated?
I wouldn't say he's underrated. I think Lane's incredibly good at what he does. He's not necessarily an outright quick driver. I don't think he's got amazing one-lap speed. But what he lacks in outright speed, he absolutely does not when it comes to management. He's one of the smoothest drivers on the grid, and I don't think you'll find a single person in the full-time grid better than him at what he does.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I don't think there's been a season in the history of this league, and I think his title-winning season's even in that discussion, where I don't think he's had a season where he's won the most races out of anyone on the field. It's just his outright consistency that gets him and Team Max Speed the results and the championships.
It's very, very impressive stuff from Lane, and he's showing us right now. Actually, there's some contact there going into the bridge section of the village. Ridwan into the back of Dynamite. And interestingly, Dynamite has just let Ridwan go by him. So, not really sure what's happened there. There was definitely some front-to-rear contact. Just see, yeah, actually, you can see the rear damage on that car now. So the Supra's taken a bit of a beating, and the GTR's just scampered off.
Yeah, well, if we know anything about Dynamite, is that he loves to try and play a smart game, and he is able to recognise when sometimes battling a faster driver might not be beneficial for his race, and I think this probably is one of those times where maybe you just want to let Ridwan through, let him get on with his race, and you can get on with your own.
Interesting way to do it for sure, though. Of course, Dynamite hasn't had the best run of luck lately. He's been involved in a string of horrendously poor-timed incidents, very few of which have actually been anything to do with his driving or his ability. And it's just been really horrible to see him be taken out, week on week. And it seems like his luck might not turn right now, because Bodhod on softs is rapidly approaching his location.
Yeah, you know what though? If there's one driver on this grid that you're not going to worry about making a mistake or throwing in a ridiculous dive on you, it is Bodhod 1. If we want to talk about someone who's a class of the field and someone who you love to race against, I think Bodhod is probably number 1 or number 2 on guys that if you see him coming up here against you on track, you think, oh yes, I get to battle him, because he is probably one of the cleanest drivers on our grid.
I couldn't agree more. The amount of times that Bodhod's been involved in a steward's room, I don't think I've seen him in there once. He is consistently one of the cleanest drivers, and like you said, he's a joy to battle against. Puts in some ridiculously good overtaking manoeuvres, never defends past the line either. But I will just reel on back a little bit to another discussion we were having. In terms of underperforming drivers, would you say Bodhod's on the top of that list right now?
I think so. He's been consistently towards the midfield and the lower end of the top 10 compared to where he normally is. I would say in his Project 1 career, he's probably at his lowest right now. And I think that the general consensus amongst the President Engineering group is that Mercedes have not given them the machinery to have a proper full-fledged attack at this championship. And I think the results of Bodhod and Jack especially probably make that statement true.
Oh, look, it's hard to say. Yeah, we can easily look at this, of course, being the team owners of the Toyota and the Porsche teams, and say that this car has been a pretty formidable, opponent. Stingray, of course, putting the car well up there on many an occasion. I struggle to blame the car, to be honest. I see it do really well in FIA events. I believe last season in the Manufacturer Series it was actually P5 outright over a full season. So I think the car really does have what it takes. It hasn't been hit by any major bop hits. I just don't think these guys have fully got a hold of how to drive it yet. It does take a very particular style. It maybe doesn't suit Bodhod and Jack in particular.
Yeah, I think going back onto your comment about maybe it not suiting the drivers, Jack has actually slid all the way down to 13th. So it's not a great start at all from the Season 7 runner-up, and not wanting to take pot shots at him on commentary, but I don't think we'll be seeing him be runner-up this season at least.
No, that's fair enough. And look, I'd like to think that anybody watching this back can definitely take this as a form of motivation. You can look at basically any driver on this grid, and compared to where we were in seasons 1 and 2 especially, the rate of improvement is massive, absolutely huge. And I think we can take this as a lot of motivation, a lot of gratitude that we've gotten to this point with Project One. And I think now we're at the point where these drivers, as good as they are, they can really start looking at their own driving styles and how they can better that and how they can actually perform using the cars that suit them. Jack in particular is someone who I think after last season in the Peugeot RCZ, we saw really benefits from a car that has a mid-engined engine format, of course, and I think that's what's going to help him going forward. So I think maybe Presland Engineering might be eyeing something a little more balanced next season.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what manufacturer Presland Engineering decide to partner up with in Season 9, as I'm almost certain it will not be another Mercedes-Benz, as I'm sure that this will probably go down as a season to forget for Mr. Presland in the 8th car, as positions lately have not been changing as much. One thing to note is that BK is rapidly closing in the gap to Stingray and Viper for P4, so BK just making the most of that tyre advantage.
Yep, so BK there, you can see last time out was an 8-minute 12 on lap 2 for BK. And Viper running an 8-minute 13, so a touch slower. And Stingray, of course, it seems like Viper's just been glued to his rear bumper. Another 8-minute 13 from Stingray. And we'll go forward to Prezzo, who made that advantage count an 8-minute 9 last time by. 8-minute 8 by Lunacy, and an 8-minute 5 by Lane, who is stretching his legs in that BRZ out front.
Yeah, I'm almost certain that is, I think, a second off of his pole time, which I believe was an 8-minute 4. So Lane Everingham in another world today. And I'm very curious to see what times Ridwan can pull out of the FP Racing this once he pits and puts on soft compound tyres.
Well, Ridwan as well, last time by, even on the mediums, he's done an 8:09, so that is definitely the quickest of the medium runners right now, and he's got a little bit of an air gap.
His teammate. That's faster than Prezzo on the softs.
Yeah, it's huge. It's massive, massive pace from the current championship leader. And of course, with BK ahead of him setting some really competitive times as well, Ridwan's got that air gap that he needs, and he can just push on in clear air.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking about how crucial the medium stint is, trying to get that one right. Well, by the time the medium stint's over, Ridwan should be on the back, or very close to it, of Viper and Stingray. So Ridwan already, he dropped to 13th after turn 1. So the fact to recover to 7th, and it could be 6th soon, because remember, he is lapping 3 seconds faster than BK at the moment. So Ridwan, a very strong recovery drive.
BK as well just needs to be really careful about his front tyre. You can see already down to maybe a third of wear left on those things, and once we hit the full wear, it becomes basically like a puncture. So really do not want to let it get all the way down to campus.
Yeah, I think BK might be pushing the car a little bit too hard to try and just connect up to Viper and Stingray. That maybe he could cost himself, and Ridwan has almost completely closed that gap down now.
Yeah, you can see it as well. This entire train, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th, all in the same section of track now. So BK has reeled in the Porsche and the Mercedes, and Ridwan has come right with him.
Yeah, so I'm sure if you're Viper and Stingray, I'm sure that I'm sure you don't want to see Ridwan appearing in your rearview mirror. So I'm sure they'll have some choice words for BK when they now they found out that he has dragged the 3-time champ along.
Oh, look, it's only lap 3 of a 10-lap race, so I'm sure they won't be too concerned right now. But what will be concerning to them is if they knew that Ridwan was also on the medium tyre. So very, very little wear and stress being put through those Bridgestones right now. And that's sure to be of concern to the few guys ahead of him.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing to note as well with these medium runners is that Viper Z has a large excess of fuel still in that car compared to Stingray and Ridwan. So what we thought the strategy today would have been a 3-lap medium stint, and then using the softs for the rest of the race in a 3-stop strategy. It looks like Viper could be trying to get a 4-lap medium stint here and then try to do a 2-stop strategy. So that could save a lot of time and could put Viper ahead of Lane Everingham after the pit stops all play out.
Yeah, it's definitely ambitious. I think a lot of us weren't confident at all that the four-lap strategy, I beg your pardon, was actually possible at all. Myself included, I was not certain at all that this was going to work. But seeing the numbers that Viper's hitting here, I think he might just pull it off.
Yeah, it will be very interesting to see how they pull it off. And I mean, this is shaping up to be a season to forget for Revo Satellite Racing as well. Staff Turbo recently leaving the team halfway through his rookie campaign, yet to sign a full-time replacement as of yet. So Viper Z with a bit of a super sub performance, filling in for the team until one can be found. So it is just a bit of damage control, maybe a bit of pride, just trying to steer them out from being lost in the championship. So I think an outlandish strategy like this...
Oh, sorry, BK. Just going to have to cut you off there. It looks like BK's run a little bit wide in the carousel there, and Ridwan able to slide down his inside and pick up 6th position.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want if you're Ridwan. A nice, easy move. You don't have to work too hard for it, and now Ridwan has an open pathway to Stingray and Viper, and BK's put it in the wall.
Yeah, some front left damage there to the Supra, so BK just cracking under the pressure.
In the grass as well.
Oh, yep, there we go. Stingray slipped down to 6th position, so another easy position for Ridwan. And now he's right on the back of his fellow satellite driver, Viper.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what happened in the Deep Forest feature race between these two. They had an epic battle for the race win then. It is only for 4th right now, but I'm sure that... when he started 9 places in front of him, I'm sure Viper didn't want to be seeing Ridwan on lap 3.
No, definitely a little bit early to see his fellow compatriot. Of course, these two have got a lot of history. Viper and Ridwan have raced each other in a lot of leagues, have shared cars together, have tasted success, and of course the lowest of lows in a lot of Enduros together. These guys, I think it's fair to say they're good mates, but right now I don't think any of that's going to be mattering.
Yeah, not at all. Because remember, Ridwan might be leading the Drivers' Championship. He is not leading the Enduro Cup. That obviously is Lane Everingham after he won the one and only endurance race we've had before this, and that was back at Le Mans when Lane won that epic last lap battle against Ridwan. Yeah,
it was a cracker of a race. Of course, we've seen some belters this season. Some really good bouts of racing. These two, Viper and Ridwan, in Deep Forest Race 1, had a great scrap. The feature race putting on a show for us between these two drivers. And I'm just quietly hoping to myself that it'll be the same with these next 6 laps.
Yeah, hopefully we see Ridwan and Viper put on a show. And if you look just a little bit further back, it looks like BK is going to line up a move on Brian Stingray, and he uses that Toyota straight line advantage to breeze past the Mercedes. So BK up into 6th place.
Real easy stuff there from BK. It looks like he will be peeling in this lap. Lane Everingham as well, coming in from the lead, and this is going to be a very, very important pit stop for the man in 2nd place in the title. Oh, he has run out, so coming in on absolute fumes. He would have been running on the smell of an oily rag. The 2nd place max speed driver, Prezzo as well, is going to follow him in. And then we've got this bunch of 4 angry cars. Viper, who we think is going to continue on. Oh, Ridwan! Ridwan in the background! Oh, that was big.
He's put it in the wall there, and Dynamite's had to try and take some avoiding action there before he goes into the pit lane. So... a bit of drama here. Lunacy runs out of fuel. Ridwan crashes on the way in.
Oh, hang on a second.
And Viper stays out.
Well, so we thought Viper would have stayed out. Bodhod stayed out as well.
Yeah, we're talking about rolling the dice. I mean, Bodhod, he's had a bit of a struggle of a season so far. So why not? Why not try something different? I mean, high risk, high reward. He was running in, I believe, P9 before this, and right now he is in the provisional P2.
You know what I can't get over right now, BK? Look at the wear on those Firestones for Bodhod. That is so little stress being put through those things. He's done 3 laps on the soft tyre, and look at them. They look like they've done hardly 1.
I mean, we just compare the tyres between Viper's 3-lap hold mediums and Bodhod's 3-lap hold softs, and yeah, Bodhod, truly a smooth operator. Lane Everingham, he rejoins in third. Prezzo right on the back of Lunacy, because I'm not sure if you saw how much fuel Prezzo had in, but Prezzo had an extra 10 litres of fuel on Lunacy heading into that pit stop, which means that in a refueling sense... Oh! Lunacy losing the back end there. I was going to say, in a refueling sense, that's 3 seconds that Prezzo gains refueling alone.
Yeah, and that little moment as well on the exit there's been enough for Prezzo to slide on into P4, and Lunacy with a bit of a net loss there has lost out to Prezzo.
Yeah, and BK's in 6th as well. That is quite a significant lead he has over Stingray in 7th there. Ridwan in 8th, Dynamite in 9th, not too far behind. And Blocky has recovered this quite well in 10th. He is pretty much on the back of this battle for 7th.
Yeah, so you've got to say that Ridwan and Stingray are probably your biggest losers from that opening stint. Of course, having their own moments on the final lap of the stint, and they're going to have a lot of work to do in the middle.
Yeah, it will be a tough ask. We're talking about struggling. I can confirm I'm looking through the field. Orphan Drop has picked up a 3-second time penalty for crossing over the pit lines. So I'm not sure if that was on the entry or on the exit, but Jack will receive a pretty hefty penalty later on in the lap. And Viper, those clouds are looking pretty daunting right now.
I was... Am I going to take it here, or no?
You can take over.
No, I wasn't necessarily taking over. I was kind of looking for a gap, but I was going to say the exact same thing watching the leaders come through into the Nurburgring section. It is looking very hazy out there, and if I were Viper and Bodhod, I'd be hoping for a bit of quick rain so that these guys don't have to waste a stop onto another set of dry tyres.
Yeah, if the rain did pick up within the next couple of minutes, it would be absolutely huge for those two. As Prezzo, again, a very tight battle over Lunacy. And one battle which I think is worth keeping an eye on, Stingray and Ridwan for P7. These two historically have had some...
Oh, sorry, Lunacy going for a move there on the outside of Prezzo, and he's picked it up going into the fast sweeping left-hander. Great move there from Lunacy, putting the car where he needed to in the right time.
Yeah, exactly. A great move there by Lunacy. That is just the class on display from our Season 3 Drivers' Champion. And you know what? When it comes to direct rivals, it doesn't get as much of a rival as it is as Prezzo for Lunacy. Battling in for third in the Drivers' Championship and battling FP Racing for the team's title. So that overtake could be crucial.
Yeah, that was pretty important there for the Max Speed versus FP Engineering. I'm forgetting the names of the teams, and I've been here for many years. Let's move on, shall we? Looking now at Dynamite sitting in P9, who is just biding his time in behind Ridwan and Stingray, who Ridwan as well has come back towards Dynamite after he let him by earlier on.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah, I mean, I think it would have just been the crash before the pit entry, because he did get overtaken by Stingray before he came into the pits. So Ridwan, yeah, an uncharacteristic mistake there from Ridwan, one that it's just another setback that he's going to have to try and recover from now.
Yeah, absolutely. And Blocky sitting back in P10. What's going on with Blocky tonight, BK? This is not the Kiwi that we're used to seeing in P1.
Well, he didn't have the greatest qualifying session, Viper, and he just has not been able to find any amounts of form so far. He kind of fell back there and has not been able to find the pace to move up the field. So maybe, if it rains, maybe Blocky could try something different here to try and gain those places on track.
I think if it rains, we're going to be looking up and down the field to see what everyone's doing. And, of course, those clouds just getting more and more ominous by the second, and everybody's going to be having two eyes on the weather radar.
Yeah, and Ridwan as well. Big send on Stingray. So Ridwan wasting no time in trying to get that place back.
Interesting time to make that dive too, before a very long straight. I would have thought maybe that Ridwan would just kind of sit behind Stingray and use him as a bit of a tow, as Ridwan's lag coming into effect a little bit there. But yeah, Ridwan just clearly wanting to get on with it, and I think all these guys just want to get as close to the pits as they can. The rain is coming.
Yeah, one thing to note as well is, so Lunacy and Prezzo right now are on the mediums, BK's on the softs, and he has caught them both.
Yeah, so BK, he's put his eggs all in the basket of running hard and fast. I think that's the first 2 stints now BK's done on the soft tyre, and he's making it work to his advantage now, all over the back of Prezzo, coming into the sweeping section.
Yeah, and if you look at the fuel as well, BK already has less than half a tank. So I think this could be one of the 2-lap stints as well as part of that 3-stop.
Yeah, it'll be a lot shorter. Of course, if it rains, though, this is going to be the form guide out the window for all these guys. They're going to have to rethink the strategy on the fly. And I'll tell you what, BK, a little fly on the wall right now is telling me it is going to rain.
Yeah, a little fly on the radar is telling me that it is actually set to rain in the next couple of minutes. So it will be interesting to see if it can rain fast enough for Viper and Bodhod to make a switch over to intermediates.
Yeah, it's going to be real tight. Viper now coming into the closing few corners before hopping onto the Dottinger Her. Of course, that long straight. I think importantly now, if it rains too quickly, a lot of people are going to be left out there on dry tyres on a wet track. And if you've experienced that before, BK, you will know as well as I have, it is like driving on ice.
You may as well get out and walk. It'd be faster than trying to drive around on a wet track on dry tyres. And yeah, if you're Viper right now, you want it to absolutely start pouring down because there's not much track left on this lap for Viper Z before he has to come into pit. And yeah, rain right now would be perfect for Viper in the Revo Satellite Racing Porsche.
Well, the question right now as well...
Prezzo's off.
Oh, Prezzo's had an off, has he?
Prezzo is off.
Yeah, there you go. So Prezzo, just before the second carousel, has lost that position to BK well and truly, and he's got Ridwan coming towards him. So all these guys have got the rain coming towards them rapidly, and now Prezzo's got the problem of just going off and losing a position. Oh, and the wipers are on. Here we go, BK. The rain is here.
Perfect timing for Viper because he is at the pit entry. I mean, he had the pit anyway, but now it is raining down pretty fast. It'll be interesting to see what call the Revo boys make.
Well, I was just going to ask the question, what do these guys do? Do they go to a second set of dries, or do they risk the inters, given it wasn't raining yet? But I think this decision is that much easier now for them. Bodhod now navigating the final chicane, coming into pit entry. Lane as well is going to follow him. He's gained a lot of time. A lot of time Lane has found. Lunacy as well coming into that final chicane. You can absolutely put your house on it. All of these guys are going to throw the inters on. Or is Lunacy sideways out of the chicane? You can see it's already getting very wet here. BK as well in 5th position. Perfect timing to get into the pits. And there's Prezzo. It's starting to bucket down now at the Nordschleife. Ridwan struggling to put the power down in P7. As we see Dynamite as well coming through. No massive problems for Dynamite. And Stingray out sideways. Stingray desperately trying to keep the car in a straight line. And he's not coming in.
Stingray must be a gambling man. He is opting to stay out on the softs where it is clearly wet conditions. Viper just rejoins ahead of Lane. And Stingray is going to be here for a 3-way battle.
Oh, he's gone! It's straight off! Oh, it's huge! Stingray off into the gravel. Lane and Viper so lucky to have missed that one. That was a massive moment for Stingray, who took the gamble and is nearly paid the price immediately.
Is this the 2007 European Grand Prix? Because I've seen this story happen before. With a Mercedes-powered car flying off into that corner. Stingray dropping into 4th now. And one major thing to note, because of the shorter refuel time that Lane had, he was able to gain all of that lost time to Viper because he gained about 20 seconds just by refueling.
Yeah, of course, Viper running the 4-lap stint. It was absolutely perfection in terms of strategy. Viper, who was nowhere near Lane in the first stint, has managed to gain the lead now, and these guys on exactly the same fuel load. But of course, Lane managing to get the undercut through not only fresher tyres, but a shorter fuel stint, as you did just say.
Yeah, there was about 60% more fuel, or 60 litres more fuel in Lane's car, which equates to about 20 seconds gained in the pit stop there, which really mitigated that stop. Bodhod as well, he lost position to Lunacy, but he did rejoin in 4th. So the 4-lap stint there, paying off perfectly for Bodhod, and I have jinxed it. He's off. He's in the grass.
Oh, no, yeah, Bodhod's made a mistake there, so the wet conditions are catching out the Mercedes. I was just about to say that Stingray is absolutely crawling around. He's down to 9th position now, and the traction control is wound right up to try and get him through this.
Yeah, it has not worked out for Stingray at all. Stingray was 9th before the pit stop started, and he has dropped back down to 9th after a very, very brief stint in P3.
Oh, sorry, BK. I just seen as well Jamo and Jack Presland nearly coming a cropper into turn 1. These guys have just gotten on the inters. And spare a thought as well for Tube, who is just coming across the line to start lap 5, I believe it is. He is on softs. He's got engine damage right now. He's chosen to stay out. And Roscoe as well, who's still in the second carousel. That rain couldn't have come at a worse time for him.
Yeah, especially being on the mediums as well, it's more of a task to try and deal with these conditions on the mediums than it is the softs. So, Tube's around as well. He's had a spin before turn 1, so that's the second car that we've had lose control there as his car gets reset. Probably a day to
Oh, sorry, this is a change for the lead here.
Points.
There we go, Lane's just gone through to the lead, so Lane using top speed advantage of the BRZ, and he's swept by Viper to reclaim the lead of the Nurburgring 250.
Yeah, the Nurburg King at it again, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Viper can actually hold up, because Lane was on pole by about 4 seconds, so he does have that pace advantage over Viper, and it will be one to see. It'll be something to note. Does Viper have those few seconds in his back pocket, or is he genuinely just not quick enough to contend with Lane here today?
You know, Lane, no stranger to the Nurburgring. He is an absolute pro here, and we don't call him the Nurburgring King for no reason. He is, 4 wins already at this Enduro, BK?
4 wins from 7 Nurburgring 250s, and one of them was and one of the 3 he didn't win was a non-start in Season 1. So if you want to count races where Lane's made it to the grid, he has a 66.6% win percentage around here. So Lane Everingham is no stranger to a race win around the Nurburgring.
That is, that's mighty from Lane, and I think Viper knows just what he's up against. He does his homework before each round, does the satellite racing team owner, and of course, being a super sub, he knows, he just runs it a little bit wide through the forest chicane. That was a bit of commentator's curse there from myself on myself, but it is important to remember as well that the spray isn't going to make things easy for everyone behind, but another factor that people forget as well is that as these two are out carving their own lines, everyone behind is going to have drier track than what Lane and Viper do right now. So we will, in theory, see quicker times than everyone below Viper and Lane.
Yeah, one thing to note as well is that Lunacy has had an earlier off. He suffered a bit of front damage. The damage is gone now, but because of that, Prezzo has made a move up into 3rd, and Ridwan is right behind him. So Ridwan has I was going to say easy. He still has to pass Lunacy, but he has a very, very close path to a podium position right now.
Yeah, so that's really changed the dynamic of the podium. I mean, the massive change anyway was that Viper, who was sitting outside of the top 4, I believe, or outside the top 3, I beg your pardon, has managed to jump up into 2nd. And Stingray, who at one point was looking an absolute lock, is all the way back in 9th, and he's had an off just recently as well. So front left damage on the Merc, and this has turned from a very, very good day out to a night to forget so far for Stingray.
Yeah, it is interesting. One thing to note, Viper, is that the rain has already stopped. So this could be a shorter stint than anticipated for the drivers on the intermediates, which could actually benefit Stingray later on. And one thing to note is that Roscoe did not pit last lap. He opted to stay out on those mediums instead of coming in for the inters. So maybe over there at FP Racing they knew something that we don't.
Yeah, look, I don't think Roscoe's going to be challenging anyone way back in 15th, but what he can do is he can be the guinea pig for the rest of the field. Knowing that Roscoe's on, well, actually, I believe they're fresh mediums, BK, so I think while he did pit...
Sorry, Lunacy's made a move. Lunacy's back up in the 3rd.
Well, there we go. Yep, we can just see it. So Ridwan's actually ran it wide as well. Prezzo's made a mistake somewhere. So the 2 FP Autosport cars have fallen back, and Lunacy up into the podium positions once more.
Yeah, the one team that FP Racing needs to be in front of is the one car that they've let by. So, Lunacy now, for the team's sake, for his own sake against Prezzo, needs to try and build a gap because I think if Ridwan catches Prezzo, I don't think Prezzo's going to put up too much of a fight.
No, that's pretty valid, and I think that's about what it's forecasting as well. So Lane and Viper still punching at each other up the front. These two, we cannot separate them right now. And Lane, who will probably be thinking ahead now. Look at the sunshine, BK, out over this circuit. It is starting to become very bright out there, and I think we're going to see a dry line forming incredibly quickly.
Yeah, I mean, if you go further back on the grid towards Roscoe, you can definitely see that there is a drier line out there. So earlier in the lap, it is quite dry. So the question will be asked now, do these drivers come in and go for a set of dryers, or do they stay out for another lap on the intermediates?
It's a huge gamble to take, right? Because you can see where Lane and Viper is. It is still way too wet to be out there on softs. As Lane just nearly steps it wide into the grass as well. It's going to be treacherous.
Run wide. And wait a second, Prezzo's in 7th.
Oh, yep, so Prezzo's made a massive mistake somewhere. He's dropped positions to both of the BK Racing guys, who, let's just call teams whatever we want at this stage.
I know the team names, don't worry.
Okay, that's alright. As long as everyone else knows them, because...
some more carnage, sorry to cut you off here, more carnage. We're down to 14 runners because I do have word that Bodhod has retired from the race. So it's an unfortunate day for Bodhod, especially with the great pit strategy they had mapped out.
Yeah, massive shame for Bodhod. He got that so right with the initial 4-lap stint. It was looking like he was going to take some benefit, but yeah, it's all just gone wrong for him. That's massively unfortunate. And
yeah, it'll make that fight for third in the team's championship against Kennedy Motorsports so much more of a struggle now with 2 cars in this race.
Very true. And have a look at this, BK. Stingray has closed right up to the back of Blocky. So Stingray, who's on the soft tyres, Blocky on the intermediates, I think that changeover's already happened. I think if you put softs on right now, you're going to get a massive free kick over the field.
Yeah, look at the dry line forming. We're interested to see what the leaders do.
Lane's in the pits, and Viper stays out. Interesting. Now we've got a race on our hands. That's a massive change when it comes to strategy. And I don't think anybody had this on their play card. Lunacy's in. Ridwan around the final corner. What'll he do? He's in as well. I think Vipers have made a mistake here.
Yeah, well, I think if the majority go against you in the strategy, it might mean you've made the wrong call. We'll have to wait and see. BK comes in. Dynamite follows him in. And Prezzo, after that early mistake that dropped him to 7th, he's going to stay out and try to salvage some track position.
Saw in the background as well. So Stingray making the exact same decision as Prezzo and Viper. Blocky chose to dive in, and Lane rejoining now on the soft tyre. Watch out for that pit exit road. It is so slippery down the inside, and Lane navigating it like an absolute pro.
Well, one thing to note is that Stingray was always on the soft tyres. He was never on the intermediates. So Stingray, his choice to stay out has actually paid off. And in the pits, just to note, BK's moved up in the 5th, Lunacy's dropped in the 6th, Dynamite in 7th, and Ridwan's in 8th.
That's a massive shake-up there. All these guys choosing to go a little bit differently on the fuel loads. And this was just not something anyone was expecting. A very, very difficult track to navigate now with the dry line. But what are these boys going to do with fuel now? We've got just over 5 laps remaining now in this race. And, you know, figuring out strategy right now. These guys aren't rocket scientists, and they're hardly race car drivers on the best of days. So strategy right now is going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah, plenty of different strategies at play, Viper. We thought we knew where everyone was on track, but this weather has completely thrown a spanner in the works. We've seen that the 4 laps on fuel is possible. I doubt that 5 would be. And honestly, Lane is closing in on the Stone Tail quite rapidly, so I'm thinking that staying out on the inters might have been the wrong choice.
Yeah, I think that's right. That dry line is just going to absolutely chew up the intermediate tyres, and the GTR isn't exactly known for its tyre wear capabilities. Lane on the soft tyres, if he's able to stay in these train tracks, then he is on for a very, very strong finish here. Important to remember, though, the train tracks are incredibly thin, and making a mistake here will spell immediate death.
Yeah, so Lane has to try and stay within those train tracks and also try to overtake the Stone Towel while also maybe hoping that Prezzo runs wide or something, because Lane can't really afford to go off the racing line too much here.
No, it's going to be so difficult. Of course, overtaking here, you kind of need something to happen. You need to dive towards the inside. You need to pass him on the wet stuff. And right now on that soft tyre, there's just absolutely no grip to be able to do that. He might just have to wait until Prezzo makes a mistake.
Yeah, and one thing to note as well, off camera, Lunacy has spun in the Nordschleife section. He was in P5, he's now dropped down to P8.
Oh, so Lunacy just proving how difficult it is. Lane going to the wet stuff. Lane ran the outside of Prezzo out of Flugplatz. What a move there from Lane Everingham, putting balls to the walls. Stingray's going to try and follow him through as well. Will he get it done? And I think Prezzo just thinking better of making that one difficult. So that's Lane and Stingray now up to second and third respectively.
Yeah, this really is a game of cat and mouse now. Lane and Stingray are going to have to try to drive the wheels off their cars to try and close in Viper Z, because what I'm thinking, right, after this lap, there's going to be 4 laps left. Viper has already proven that he can do that 4-lap stint because he did it on the opening stint. Could this have been intentional from Viper to stay out one more lap? Could he have just completely cut out a pit stop by sacrificing this lap on intermediates?
It could well have been. It's a massive gamble to take, and trying to figure it out on the fly which one would be quicker is near on impossible. Of course, you've got the 2 options. You can do what these boys have done, ignoring Stingray, who of course stayed out and appears to have pulled a master stroke despite he's off at turn 1. But Lane, you've got to assume Lane's got one more pit stop in that BRZ. Viper, if he's got only one more as well, it's a huge, huge advantage that the Revo driver has.
Yeah, exactly. This could be the actual on-track gap between Lane and Viper, which could prove to be a strategical masterclass from the Revo Satellite Racing driver. And one thing to note as well, Lane able to break away from Stingray purely on the fact that he has fresher tyres.
Yeah, no surprises there. I think Lane just navigating those train tracks a little bit better than what Stingray is too. Stingray, who's already been bitten by the wet conditions, and I don't think it's in his playbook to want to do it again.
Yeah, you know what though? I think he'd be feeling a little bit more at comfort now, knowing that he can push a little bit more than what he was able to last lap, having to try and crawl around the Nordschleife on that wet track.
Absolutely, and if we just pan back to Prezzo as well, the rear tyres in that GDR are being eaten alive, and I can't imagine how much it's hurting the Porsche as well. And yeah, that rear-engine Porsche as well, the rears are going so quickly for Viper. I think Lane's going to be reeling him so quickly right now.
Yeah, the rear tyres on those intermediate runners are not lasting very long at all, as yeah, the same is happening to the Stone Towel in P4, still holding on the 4th. It'll be interesting to see how his gap fares.
Stingray in the background. Sorry, BK. That was a massive, massive moment for Stingray. Out on the dry tyres, decided to dip his right-hand wheels in the grass, and it is sludge out there right now. I don't know how Stingray held that, as he gets a little bit sideways there on the run to the carousel. That was a huge moment there.
Yeah, well, Stingray is used to getting 125% out of the car. Absolutely.
Oh, Lane! Lane, he's off!
Oh my god! Oh, he almost came back in front of Stingray!
Oh, that was huge. Oh, Lane with a massive moment exiting the carousel. Did anybody expect that? Lane Everingham, who's been bulletproof so far at Green Hell, and he's made his first real mistake and picked up some front end damage on the BRZ, letting Stingray through as well. That was big.
Yeah, someone who is basically invincible around here, and Lane has shown that he is human. He can make mistakes, and this could be costly once Viper comes in the pit at the end of this lap, you would imagine.
Oh, Lane again running the high line. Oh, I cannot believe he saved that one. He was well out in the wet stuff there. That could have been game over for Lane if he got that one wrong.
Yeah, I think Lane right now just needs to get his head down, just needs to try and regather himself, try to regather his thoughts, try to refocus, because the race against Viper's still on, but if Lane keeps squabbling around like this, this could give the race to Viper.
Yeah, if we look now, I think that gap's closed down massively. You can still see, if we go to Stingray, the gap to Lane isn't huge. And Viper is not that far ahead of these guys. So Viper, whose rear tyres have absolutely seen better days right now, is going to have to pit this lap for dries. And Stingray as well will have to peel in, given his fuel situation. Lane, however...
Prezzo's around, sorry. Sorry to cut you off there. Prezzo is around again. The intermediates have not worked out well for him. He was in 4th. He's dropped down to 6th.
Yeah, Prezzo's rear tyres as well are just eating themselves alive in this... It's not even damp conditions at this stage, is it, BK? It's a dry line. It's a well and truly dry line. And you've got to say it this early on, Prezzo definitely made the wrong call. And I think that speaks numbers about Viper's strategy call as well.
Yeah, it was definitely the wrong call to stay out on the intermediates. Viper and Prezzo, the only 2 on track to still be on the intermediates. Lunacy now trying to get a move done on Prezzo, who's basically holding him up at this point. As, Lunacy sends it down the inside at that second carousel. So Lunacy now back up into 7th. And Viper Z coming up now, or coming into the final corner. Surely he brings it in.
Oh, I don't think there's any way he doesn't. The rear tyres won't live to see another day, and Viper Z expectedly brings it into the pit lane for the Revo pit lane boys to do work and put a new set of Falcons on the car. We'll see as well, so Stingray will bring this car in as well for a full hop-up of fuel. 4 laps to go. What do they do here, BK? We're going to see a 4-lap stint, not only from Viper, but from Stingray as well?
Well, Bodhod was able to do it earlier in the race, so I'm sure that data was relayed over to the 78 car, that side of the garage, and maybe Bodhod engineers got into Stingray's ear and said, hey, if this strategy does work, let's try pull it off. We could maybe win the race here.
It'd be a great strategic move there from Stingray if he gets it done. Lane, of course, continuing on to take the lead of the race. BK will carry on as well into 2nd place. Ridwan up into 3rd. As we see Dynamite as well, who's going to be racing Viper on pit exit. Viper's at exit now on the medium tyre, BK.
Yeah, so it looks like Viper might just try and replicate his opening stint once again. So Viper, we're expecting him not to pit, based on what we saw earlier on. Lunacy in 6th, Blocky in 7th. So he is recovering quite a fair bit there. Stinger in the pits, as we noted, and Prezzo, unsurprisingly, coming into the pits as well to get rid of those inters. Stingray has rejoined on the softs. Remember, we did see Bodhod pull off that full-up stint on the softs too, so maybe Stingray's going to try to do the exact same thing here.
I would, yeah, look, we saw Bodhod do it. Stingray as well, who lights it up coming out of turn 2. I was about to make the note that Stingray isn't exactly the smoothest driver, and I think he kind of proved my point there.
Yeah, Stingray isn't known for saving the tyres or saving the fuel. As a matter of fact. So Stingray is really going to have to dive into some unfamiliar territory if he wants to salvage a podium or potentially even a win here at the Nurburgring, because I think a Stingray win is not out of the question right now.
I don't think anybody's out of the question for a win right now. I do not know what's going on with this strategy. The form book is out the window right now. We just have to enjoy what's in front of us, and I think in 3 laps' time, we'll finally see what's on the cards.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think anyone's ruled out here. Even Roscoe, who is struggling like all hell today, I think even Roscoe's still in it. It could rain again for all we know. We saw that quick burst of rain before. Could the rain return? It looks unlikely looking at the sky right now, but anything can happen here at the Nurburgring.
Too true. And of course, the right timing for rain can bring absolutely anybody back into contention. If it pissed down right now, I'm absolutely sure that both Tube and Roscoe would get the biggest free kick in history and probably come out in the lead of this race.
Yeah, well, one thing to note, we didn't mention it before, this is the first ever race in Project 1 that has been affected by the rain. So that is just a fun little side note there.
Awesome little fact there, and I'm sure there wasn't a single person in the field who didn't enjoy a bit of a quick rain shower, unless we maybe asked Roscoe.
I was just about to say, maybe Roscoe didn't enjoy that one too much, as he unfortunately limped around there on the mediums, and Ridwan as well, right on the back of BK, so we could have a big battle for second here, because I think with 4 laps to go, I don't think BK is going to want to give up a podium place this easily.
No, very true. On board with Lane now with his helmet cam, and Lane setting PB pace, which of course is already the fastest lap. He's just got to put his head down right now, does Lane, because not knowing what strategy the people on behind makes things very, very difficult for him. Of course, Viper and Stingray look like they could both be on the run towards the end, which means Lane is time trialing against these guys and needs to be really putting his best foot forward to make sure he comes out ahead.
Yeah, I think the best way for Lane to go about this is just set 4 qualifying laps. He has the best pace of anyone here on the grid, so if he can just try to do qualifying laps, he should be fine.
Yeah, that should be about right for him as well. It's a bit of a gamble too, wondering what he's going to do with strategy, as we see now. Is he's 10th up on his own fastest lap? Is he going to pit the end of this lap and then run the 3, or will he push a little bit further and have the 2 at the end? If I were in Lane's shoes right now, which I am not because I'm in 6th position, I would be saying to myself that I need all of the time in the world to try and maximise this gap. I'd be pushing on until the end of lap 8 and then peeling in to do that final 2 lap stint on the softs and just push like all hell.
Yeah, that seems like the optimal strategy. There's Ridwan all over the back of BK now. I'm not sure how well the 11 is going to be able to hold off the 14 here.
Is Ridwan going to get aggressive with it? He does. He fires up onto the curb. There's contact definitely there. And BK, who just loses out. So Ridwan up into second.
That's the move he pulled on Stingray earlier.
Yeah, it was hyper aggressive there from Ridwan. He's not wasting any time. Lap 7 now, so he's got to be pushing. And Ridwan's found himself up into 2nd position.
You know what? It's been an impressive drive so far from Ridwan and BK because if you remember, back at the start of this race, Ridwan and BK, they were sharing the 6th row in 11th and 12th, and if the race would end right now, they would be sharing 2 spots on the podium.
And wouldn't that be an interesting way to end things, BK? It would be an incredible change of luck for not only Ridwan, but BK as well, who, correct me if I'm wrong here, I believe BK hasn't stood on the podium this season.
I will correct you there, actually. BK did finish 3rd. I'll talk about myself in the 3rd person. BK did finish 3rd in the Red Bull Ring sprint race. But that is that sprint race actually was the last time BK finished in the top 5 this season. So BK right now, he is looking strong to return to the top 5, but obviously 3.5 laps to go, and honestly, we don't know where anyone is right now on track.
No, it's pretty incredible to get to this stage of an N24 and not really know what's going on. I think normally when we have these races, we get to kind of like lap 4, lap 5, and you can get a good idea of where everyone's going to finish. Right now, BK, I don't think either of us bloody know. I think Lane's in contention, absolutely. Ridwan and BK, both in contention. Dynamite, who has Lunacy for company right now, they're probably both in contention too. Everyone back to Stingray's in contention, and it is awesome for the league.
Yeah, exactly. We don't know where anybody is. Dynamite just ran wide, and Lunacy perfectly followed him out there. So Lunacy being nice and courteous there, not letting Dynamite's mistake cost him a position.
Monkey see, monkey do.
The good guy, Lunacy being the good guy he is. But this could be an absolute ding-dong battle for 4th. And honestly, Dynamite, in terms of stream highlights, he's had quite a quiet day, but he's had such a strong drive.
He has. It's a nice change of pace for Dynamite, who are, of course, so regularly being caught up in these incidents. And I think he will just be very, very happy to be sitting comfortably inside the top 5, irrespective of the angry BRZ in his rearview mirror.
Yeah, I think Lunacy in the back of his mind would be quite angry with and he's just run wide as well. I was about to say he'd be quite angry with the fact that he is in 5th, just considering the amount of mistakes that he's already made today. He probably should be a lot closer to Lane than what he is right now.
He steps it out sideways though. Those curbs will still be holding a little bit of water in them, so as dry as this track looks, if you step it offline, you're going to find a whole world of ecosystem out in the grass. And a quick little shout out as well to Savage Duck. Welcome home from work, and welcome along to the Nurburgring Enduro stream. Just over 3 laps remaining now, so it's about to get good.
Yeah, just note to Savage Duck as well, this isn't the live race, this is actually Viper and I going back over last week's race, because we didn't have the commentator last week, just to avoid any potential confusion there, because as Viper and I know, you are brand new to our community, as Lane Everingham has gone out and smashed the fastest lap again in 8:04.
Wow. 8-minute 4.5 in race trim from Lane. That is putting a cherry on top so far of what has been a very, very strong drive as BK now peels into the pits at the end of lap 7.
Yeah, one thing to note is that Ridwan replied with an 8-minute 6, and that was while also being stuck behind BK for portions of the Nurburgring. Dynamite as well, his Kennedy Motorsport teammate. That's the team name, by the way, Viper. Note that one down. But Dynamite also following him in. Now, looking at the fuel difference here between those two Toyotas, if they're full fueling, Dynamite should gain 3 seconds on his teammate here.
Nice little bit of strategy use there from Dynamite. Of course, Dynamite is pretty quick onto strategy and what works for him. He knows where he needs to be saving fuel, and we see BK here taking that long fuel stop. There was scraps left in that tank, so he'll be sitting here for quite a while.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see where those two Toyotas come out. Lunacy in 3rd, Viper in 4th, Blocky in 5th, and Stingray in 6th. And BK is going to rejoin in 7th place. Tim is in 8th, actually. Could Tim split the two Toyotas?
I believe yes, he has. Will. There you go.
And Prezzo as well on the exit there. Could Prezzo get into 9th? Yes, he will. So Dynamite has a little bit of extra work to do here, which is not going to be ideal if he wants to try and close the gap to BK.
Well, I think this is where we can start forming things in, right? This is where we could start looking at what's going on and start understanding where people are going to be shaping up. If we look from the front, we've got Lane up into the Nordschleife section, comfortably in the lead. I would say where Lane is right now, he's probably going to come out in the lead if he stops this lap, which I believe he will, BK. Second into Ridwan, who has driven a very, very classy race so far into lap 8. And Ridwan, I believe he'd also make a stop.
In the wall as you say that one, so great job there. But yes, Ridwan, a fantastic recovery drive, 11th to 2nd.
Yeah, I normally try and take Ridwan's movements with a pinch of salt. I never know what he's actually doing and which of it is his horrendous Western Australian internet.
Yeah, that is an interesting case, especially since both Prezos are also from that side of the nation, and their connection is a lot more stable than his. So it's always quite fun watching him battling Ridwan. It really is.
Definitely. We've got Lunacy as well in P3, who with a roughly similar fuel load left lane, so he'll definitely be stopping this lap as well. A lot less than Ridwan though, who I think is going to make a bit of a gain towards Lane. Maybe not enough to overtake him in the pits, but it will be something, and something we can look forward to for the closing stint. Viper, who still looks on the money as well to run this 4-lap stint. He's a long way back, but that's about where we're expecting Lane to come out, because if Viper's setting the lap times he needs to, which he usually does, then that's roughly where we're going to see Lane.
Yeah, I think Viper, this is definitely the most important lap of Viper's entire stint. Of his entire race here. If this lap goes wrong for Viper, I think you can kiss the race goodbye.
Oh, Blocky in behind him. I was about to speak about what a great job Blocky had done. It was a really minor mistake. He didn't pick up any damage, fortunately, but he just overstepped his marks and got on the curb. But Blocky as well, surely pitting at the end of this lap from P5. And then Stingray, who admittedly has used a little bit more fuel than I thought he would have at this rate. And he might struggle to make it to the end of the race, to be honest, on a 4-lap stint.
Yeah, well, fuel-wise, we just have to compare it to Viper, and it looks like Stingray could be struggling a little bit more to pull that one off. And just a little bit of update further down the field, Tim has had another major off, and he's dropped down into 10th, Prezzo into 8th, Dynamite into 9th, and Dynamite has a 1-second time penalty that he'll have to serve at the end of the lap.
Yeah, we just saw Tim digging himself out of the gravel. He's done such a good job so far. He's been Mr. Inconsistent this season, really. He's been up and down all around. I think Red Bull Ring, we might have seen him inside the top 10. It might have been a 6th or a 7th place finish, maybe even 8th from the Revo Satellite Racing driver. But it's just been a season to forget from Tim and a pretty unwelcome return to the Porsche brand.
Yeah, as Dynamite as well has overtaken Prezzo. So Dynamite now has cleared Tim and Prezzo, and now he will just try and push as hard as he can to try and get. Remember, he's undercutting Lunacy here, so he needs to try and see if he can get ahead of Lunacy or have Prezzo and Tim cost him too much time.
Yeah, these are going to be really important laps for Dynamite. He's just going to put his head down and use that advantage of the Supra. All the speed it's got, he's going to be rapid on anything where the foot's to the floor. Of course, Lunacy's still setting very competitive lap times, an 8:09 last time out, and Lunacy's going to be incredibly quick in the twisty stuff, sorry. Front tyres, though, looking a little bit shoddy.
Yeah, the fronts are not looking too strong. We did see in the opening stint of the race that Lunacy does get more out of the car, and by that I mean he wears out the tyres and the fuel a bit more than his teammate Lane Everingham. So Lunacy are a bit more on the edge compared to Lane, which could come back to haunt Lunacy in the back end of this stint.
Yeah, just looking at Lane's wear, once again, he's, just playing this very safe. It's his fuel that's going to bring him in at the end of this lap, not his tyre wear. So he's able to just push on and use that tyre for all it's worth, while he's got Ridwan in behind, who are, a roughly pretty good tyre wear, actually, from the big GDR, as compared to Lunacy, who, like you said, is using those front tyres like they're not his.
Yeah, exactly. The tyres looking really well there. It'll be interesting to see where Ridwan comes out, because fuel-wise, it looks like him and Lane are both going to have to peel into the pits. I honestly do not think it is going to be enough. I think that Ridwan just started this race too far behind Lane today in order to make any real significant damage to the Drivers' Championship battle. But, I mean, again, 2 laps to go, anything can happen.
I think what we're looking at right now, just looking at Viper and the times that he's been around, the gaps to the cars ahead, I think if we're confident Lane's going to be in and around this battle, Ridwan not going to be enough to close him in. I think Viper's going to be right in the middle of these two. It might be Lane, Viper and Ridwan, our top 3 after our final pit stops. What are your thoughts on that, BK?
I think it's a very, very plausible theory, and the one interesting thing to note is that Viper would be on the mediums, while we imagine that the other 2 would be on softs. So Viper trying to save tyres and trying to save fuel. Viper could be a sitting duck here.
He definitely seems to have forced himself onto what is probably the most difficult strategy to pull off. In theory, very quick. He's been able to minimise the pit stops and just run to the end on the tyres he's got underneath him right now. But in car-to-car battle, he's going to find it very, very difficult to keep these guys behind.
Yeah, you are absolutely spot on there, as Lane Everingham coming around the final corner now into the pits, as we imagine that he would, having to refuel and pit for what I imagine will be softs for the final time. And one thing I didn't note earlier when it rained, since the rain did come out, it throws the tire compound rules out the window, meaning that for this race now, it was no longer mandatory for the softs and the mediums to be used.
I think that's going to be an effect, especially for Viper, who started on the mediums, went to the inters, and he's back on the mediums to close out this race. Lunacy pushing that car very, very hard into pit entry, as we already see Lane and now Ridwan fueling up for their stop, and it's going to be just over 2 seconds, I'd say, that Ridwan will be getting on Lane. But we're going to keep an eye on Viper now. He's coming down the main straight. Lane exiting pit lane. And it's not even close, BK. It's a Lane with a massive air gap back to Viper.
Yeah, I don't think Viper's going to be too much of a problem here for Lane. Viper just has not shown the pace this afternoon to be able to go blows with Lane, and especially now being on the slower compound. I think that Viper might have played his cards wrong here against Lane, and now it would just be interesting to see if he can actually hold off Ridwan for second, because I think that Ridwan will be coming in very, very quickly. And another thing to note, Stingray, he's in 4th.
Yeah, we predicted it pretty early. It looks like Stingray's still trying to commit to that 4-lap stint. He's a little bit short on fuel, so he's going to have to regain it somewhere. It's going to be very difficult given he's got BK, Lunacy, and Dynamite, who will all be chasing him down in behind.
Yeah, exactly. Stingray as well, again, in that sitting duck territory, much like Viper is 2 positions further up the field. And Yeah, we're in for a pretty hot finish, I reckon.
I think I will just go on. I think the benefit of where Viper is compared to Stingray, of course, Viper being 2 positions up the road and having Ridwan chasing him down, Stingray is pretty unfamiliar to this style of driving. He's not really somebody who normally saves fuel, and saving tyres as well, a bit of a mystery to him. So this is going to be new territory for the Presland engineering driver, whereas Viper, we've often seen this style of driving from him, even at Deep Forest, using the mediums early on and saving fuel to get a massive jump on Ridwan and take the lead in that feature.
Yeah, exactly. This type of conservative driving it is a dive into the unknown for prying Stingray, but it could may well pay off, because remember, when he decided not to pit for the intermediates, he dropped down the 9th. And he is in 4th. So the strategy is still paying off. But if he can't actually bring the car to the finish line, then it means absolutely nothing.
Yeah, all too true. It's going to be fuel, his biggest problem. I think the tyres will make it, if you ask me. It'll be just enough to get him around for that final lap. I'll tell you what, one guy I'm absolutely feeling for right now is Lunacy back in 6th. It was all looking so promising for Lunacy. After the 4th lap, he was still sitting in 2nd provisionally. And it's all just gone a cropper for him one way or another. He wasn't the absolute greatest in the wet section of this race. And he's just been caught up unnecessarily. Finds himself back behind BK now.
Yeah, it's not ideal for Lunacy, especially when Prezzo himself isn't having the best day out either. Lunacy really could have gained some good points there on Prezzo, because remember, he was up in 2nd at one point. He was up in 2nd. He was running 3rd during that wet stint, but now in 6th, and Dynamite quite quickly catching him actually in 7th. I'm thinking Dynamite might have a chance here at catching Lunacy, and I think Dynamite realises that as well.
Yeah, Dynamite's going to need to really put his head down. Those tyres are a little bit more worn than what Lunacy's got, so he's going to need to put a full lap more on those tyres compared to Lunacy. And the BRZ already is very, very kind on its rear tyres.
It'll be interesting to see just how these cars hold up coming towards the end of this race. And I think here on Lap 9 Viper, I'll give us an update on the running order of our cars. So Lane Everingham still in 1st, Viper Z in 2nd, Ridwan F1 in 3rd, Prying Stingray in 4th, BKXI rounds at the top 5. Could he finish in the top 5 for the first time since the Red Bull Ring 4 rounds ago? Lunacy in 6th, Dynamite in 7th, Blocky Rex in 8th, the Stone Talon 9th, Tim Ant rounding out the top 10. A return to the top 10 would be massive for the 22 team. Orphan Drop in 11th. It is Jabba on 12th, Tube in 13th on his full-time return for Team Max Speed, and Roscoe still cruising around there in 14th, just trying to bring the car home and put some points on the board for FP Racing.
Yeah, quite a spread out grid. I think the rain played an absolute chaos, especially in the lower part. You can see there's a fair few guys still putting around in the GP section. Of course, Roscoe and Tube both caught out big time. Jamo and Jack has also had their problems throughout this race. And Tim as well, actually, if we've just gone on board with Tim, he seems to have caught the wall real early on in the Nordschleiffe section. He's picked up some front left damage on that Porsche. And Tim, I think, will just be happy to see the end of this race.
And so is Jack. Jack's also put it in the wall, so Jack can't even gain anything from that either.
Awkward timing. Very, very awkward timing from the two veterans of this league.
Yeah, exactly. As on board with Lunacy, and he is very, very close to BK. So I was talking about Dynamite potentially catching Lunacy. I think Lunacy might be able to catch BK before this race is over.
That could be more likely. These three, in my opinion, are on a bit of a collision course. I think BK is slowly slipping towards Lunacy. Dynamite as well, who is still keeping pace with these guys. And if they start to battle a little bit, I think Dynamite might catch up. And just looking as well, Stingray, who of course is on that management course right now. He is reading tyre wear for dummies.
BK's off!
Oh, and BK, I was just about to say that Stingray was going to come towards him, and Lunacy swept down the inside and taken that position.
Yeah, so BK, they're making a mistake, making it quite easy for Lunacy. And Lunacy's fumbled it. Lunacy's made a mistake in the carousel, and now BK and Lunacy trying to go side by side. And Viper, have you ever seen this at the Nurburgring?
Oh, this is one of those places you can normally get away with it, but they're just pushing it a little bit further than I thought. Lunacy ran the outside, and he just bows out of it. That was some real smart driving from Lunacy. You know, you can just occasionally fit 2 cars up there on the exit of the carousel, but the envelope was being pushed a little bit more than you'd normally like.
Yeah, I think Lunacy knows that he has it. I think Lunacy knows in the back of his mind that he's quicker than BK right now. He can see BK, you know, sliding around a little bit, having a little bit of understeer maybe, just struggling on those tyres. Because remember, BK pit on lap 7, not lap 8. So BK does have 1 lap older tyres, and it is starting to show.
Yeah, and Dynamite as well, closing in on this battle every single corner that Lunacy can't get by. And it's starting to affect the pace now. As Lunacy's trying to look for another gap. Is that side by side again? Lunacy as well, nearly into the side of BK. They're going to go side by side again? No! So Lunacy backs out of it one more time. He is going to find an opportunity one way or another.
Yeah, I think Lunacy's showing BK right here, like, hey man, I'm here. If you slip up, I will pass you. I do not know where it is. And you know what? Back in Season 3, Lunacy and BK, they won a championship together. But obviously 5 seasons later, absolutely no love lost between these two former championship-winning teammates.
Yeah, these guys are no strangers to each other. They have been in a team together. As you say, a championship-winning format. These two, Lunacy right now should know how BK is going to drive as he looks around the outside now and doesn't quite get anything done running onto the big, long straight here. The Dodigaho, of course, a trademark of the Nordschleife. And this is going to be an interesting little test here. The straight line speed of the Supra, well known to be the best in the field, but that little BRZ has some seriously good top speed.
Yeah, exactly. Once that Team Max B Subaru gets going in a straight line, it can prove to be pretty difficult to stop, and you can tell just by the fact that Lunacy is actually able to keep up and actually gain on BK. And we'll see if Lunacy tries to go for a move. I wouldn't put it past him if he did. And yeah, Viper, he's lining it up. He is lining it up. Will Lunacy get it done on BK, or will BK try to stick it down the inside? No. So heading into the final lap now, Lunacy. Oh no, Lunacy in the wall, but he blocks BK perfectly there. So Lunacy is going to hold 5th. One thing we did miss off camera, Ridwan has overtaken Viper for P2.
Oh, or has he? Nope. So Ridwan, who is now travelling at a rate of knots backwards. Oh my god. Oh my god. Ridwan's car has taken some sort of something as Viper re-overtakes him, maybe? And we've lost Ridwan. Ridwan, who I think anybody could have said that was coming, and his lag has reached a point of no return.
Yeah, so Ridwan on the last lap retires from the race. He will still be classified for points for completing 75% race distance, but it will not be for P2 or P3, as BK and Lunacy, Viper, we need to go back to that battle for what is now P4, because those two are still duking it out, and Dynamite has caught the battle.
Yeah, we saw that one coming, and I was going to say before BK went off just prior to the carousel, I think Stingray's on a bit of a collision course with these three as well. Stingray, of course,
and
who
he's
needs
got a
to.
half-second penalty.
Oh no, so of course the penalty burn zone is on the final straight of this race circuit. So it's going to be a bit of a slap in the face for Stingray. He needs to build that gap right now, but he doesn't have the fuel to do it.
Yeah, Lunacy's going to try and go for a run around the outside of BK. Here at this chicane, he tries to hang around the outside, makes contact with the back of the Kennedy Motorsport car, and he's off.
Alright, interesting there. So it kind of looked like BK went a little bit deep to defend his position, and Lunacy kind of ran himself out of row. There was nowhere to go there, and he's lost all the ground that he was going to find on BK. He definitely needed that position made in the GP section, and now he's got a lot of hard work to do.
Yeah, honestly, that was best case scenario for Dynamite and Kennedy Motorsport. That was an easy overtake into P5, and if I'm in that Kennedy Motorsport garage right now, which admittedly I am, but if I was, you'd almost want to try call an audible like back at the recent Japanese Grand Prix with George Russell and Lewis Hamilton. Keep BK ahead of Dynamite, because Dynamite's the faster car. If you keep BK in front of Dynamite for now, then if Lunacy does catch back up, then Lunacy would have a harder time getting those positions back.
I'm not exactly sure it works the same as that in GT racing. Of course, the F1 cars having the benefit of DRS, which is why you would keep the faster car behind, because then the slow car would have no problems keeping the fast one in DRS zone. I see what you mean in theory, but right now I think Dynamite's just going to be a little bit more concerned, because Lunacy has a massive tyre advantage on both of these guys.
Yeah, and someone who has... This might be the first time I've ever said this. Someone who has absolutely no advantage over the cars coming up behind him. Stingray's tyres are almost at the end of their life, and the fuel tank is almost completely empty. So this battle for fourth, it will become a battle for third, unless something absolutely drastic happens to these two Toyotas.
Tell you what, I do not understand for the life of me how Stingray is going to make the end of this race. And one thing I still can't believe, Stingray is revving out that AMG. It's all the way. He's absolutely throttling that thing. So I don't think he's made any attempt at all to save the fuel in that car. And no wonder that he is now within 10% of running out.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what exactly has gone on over there in the 78. Maybe a bit of a miscommunication between him and the team on how to effectively save fuel and get pace out of the car at the same time. But it will be very, very interesting to see how the end of this race will pan out, because Lunacy has caught battle for fourth once again.
Yeah, there you go. There's a very angry train of 3 cars heading towards Stingray. This is going to be a 4-car fight for the podium, and I don't know who to put my money on.
I know who I wouldn't put my money on, and I think it's too obvious. Betting would probably be suspended on it. I feel like Stingray has probably put too much into the car too early. I think he pushed too early on in the stint, and now it's catching up to him.
I think BK, he's still putting too much into the car. He is revving out 4th gear coming into this hairpin, where ordinarily, if you're fuel saving, you're in 6th. So this is going to be a tall order for Stingray if he wants to somehow pull a miracle. But these guys are well and truly with him now. This is going to be chaos coming down the back straight. BK is going to be looking for a way by. Round the outside he goes, and BK has already picked up 3rd place from Stingray. Now Dynamite and Lunacy trying to do the same. Dynamite sweeps by him all too easy, and Lunacy as well is going to make it 3 positions lost in the space of about 10 seconds.
Yeah, Stingray, that might be the most willing Stingray's ever been to give up a position here in Project 1. So Stingray drops down to 6th. He is going to completely lose time from that battle for what is now a podium position. And I mean, we did see Lunacy up in the podium places early, but do you think BK or Dynamite thought that a podium could have been on the cards tonight?
I don't think either of these guys thought they'd find themselves ahead of Lunacy. He was having such a good run, and now he's found himself with 2 Toyota Supras parked right on his nose, and he is going to be hating it. I think this is going to be a Hail Mary from Lunacy if he's going to get this done on the final lap.
Yeah, you know what? These endurance races, Viper, they always find a way to bring us some type of interesting battle there. As Lunacy gets a run in, he gets down 1, he tries to stick it down the inside of BK. He's almost pulled off a double overtake in one corner, but he just isn't able to pull it off.
It's incredible from Lunacy. That was so opportunistic. I cannot believe he got that done cleanly. And in the background, no, that was just Stingray's penalty. But that was incredible from Lunacy. I can't believe he even thought about getting that second overtake.
I think Lunacy knows, right, that if he comes into that final straight, if he's behind both Supras, I think he knows it's game over. He had to get past one of them before that straight.
It's such a difficult thought, right? Because if he's behind just BK, then who's to say that Dynamite isn't going to go sailing past both of them? He's just got to really think about this, because I'm not sure how he's going to get it done.
Yeah, exactly. It will be a very tough one for any of these 3 to pull off the podium. I have no idea who is possibly going to be able to pull this one off. But Viper Z, we've barely spoken about him in the last lap or 2. But Lane Everingham, he's coming up to the end of the lap, the end of the race. And it's safe to say that he will win this event for the 5th time.
It's been such an incredible drive from Lane. He just got every single strategy call right. Even when we saw him in the wall early on in his dry stint, he never really looked unhappy in the car, and he's just been so good in that BRZ. And, you know, we don't call him the Nurburgring King for no reason. It's Lane Everingham out of the final corner who is going to pick up the race win. And what a win it has been. Lane Everingham, well done. Hats off to him.
Yeah, a 5th win at the Nurburgring. I believe it's his 4th win on the season, lapping Roscoe there as well. So Roscoe is going to bring home points in P14, as Ridwan will be Ridwan 13th. That is a big swing in the Drivers' Championship, as Viper Z 2nd once again. But let's get to this back straight, because Lunacy is past BK.
There we go. I was going to say it before. You do not want to be leading coming onto the Doningaho. You're asking to get overtaken. And Lunacy as well has made well to that promise. And here we go. Coming into the final braking zone. What's going to happen here? Lunacy. BK hasn't given this one up. Dynamite inside trying to wheel his team bus on. BK goes deep as Lunacy goes off as well. And we've lost on the cameras. BK's round. Oh, it's chaos here. All three of them into the wall. Dynamite's gone round. I don't know what's happening. Oh, Dynamite.
Absolute carnage. But again, Dynamite has unfortunately found himself, you know, caught up in someone else's incident. Dynamite will bring it home in 5th. But for the 2nd time this season, and for the first time ever at the Nürburgring, BK.
Oh, Stingray's out of fuel as well. He didn't do it. Stingray's just lost 6 on the line to Blocky.
Oh, that is devastating. But Blocky in the end established a pretty good result after struggling quite early on.
Oh, that was absolute chaos on the line. I cannot believe what just transpired.
That is absolutely unbelievable. What a finish between those 5 drivers. We'll throw Blocky. We'll throw Blocky in the mix as well. What a battle there at the end. And
absolutely incredible.
A quick championship update for you. Lane Everingham is your new Drivers' Championship leader. Lane finishing in P1, taking pole, taking the fastest lap, maximum points, compared to Ridwan's 13th position, has completely turned around this championship. And it's safe to say, we're halfway through the Enduro Cup now, Viper. You could say that Lane already has one hand on that trophy.
Yeah, the Enduro Cup, of course, is a big part of this championship, and Lane takes absolute pride in being someone that is a bit of an endurance specialist. Of course, Ridwan being hurt by the fact that his net couldn't quite take it, but he will be classified with the finish at least. Lane, the reigning champion, takes a hold of the championship lead for what I believe may be the first time this season, BK?
Yes, Ridwan had held the championship lead the entire season up until this point. So Lane extending his Enduro Cup championship lead, because Ridwan was also 2nd in the Enduro Cup heading into this. He drops now down into 6th in the Enduro Cup, and I believe it's actually Dynamite who is 2nd in the Enduro Cup now, after a 3rd place at Le Mans, and now a 5th place here at the Nürburgring.
Very, very interesting. And props as well, of course, to Viper Z with the late super sub. I believe that elevates Revo up into 4th place ahead of Presland Engineering.
Yeah, ultimately it ended up being the mid-race retirement of Bodhod 1, which is actually the 2nd race retirement that Presland Engineering have had in an endurance race this season. So those big points that the Mercedes outfit is missing out on really coming back to haunt them, as they've dropped from 3rd to 5th in the team's championship. There's only 134 points separating 3rd, 4th, and 5th in that team's championship. So Viper, the last 5 rounds, it'll be a dogfight to see who does not bring home the wooden spoon.
I think that's going to be on everybody's mind, but importantly too, this league does select its cars based off team's championship standing. So right now, it is FP Racing with the advantage over Team Max Speed by less than 50 points. So those guys are going to go hammer and tong at it over the final 5 rounds. Do you have a pick, BK? Who do we think are going to go on top?
Oh, I mean, honestly, Lane and Ridwan, you can't really split those two. Ridwan probably has more overall consistency. Prezzo and Lunacy, they're both very quick, but in recent weeks, both of their consistencies have dropped off quite a fair bit. Start of the season, they were pretty safe locks for podiums and top 5s, but in recent weeks, that has started to slip away. and then Roscoe and Tube as well. Honestly, it's a very, very even fight. And honestly, the slightest slip up from any driver could be a massive, massive turning point in this team's championship fight.
Yeah, and that stretches all the way back down to Kennedy Motorsport, who are just over 500 points adrift of second place. So I think it may be a two-horse race through to the end for who grabs the championship title. But these guys, Kennedy Motorsport, Revo, Satellite Racing, and President Engineering, have all got car selections. And of course, the Wooden Spoon to fight for. And would it be right of me, BK, to announce, of course, the driver for Revo for the final few rounds?
I will leave it up to you. Yes, you can be the one to announce that decision.
I will say then, of course, Revo, who are no stranger to reserve drivers coming through. They had Curving Texas in the first round, who, of course, had tasted success with the team before. Staff Turbo taking the seat for majority of the season. Of course, Viper Z with the Super Sub, and Filth Merchant for the first round of Spa offering his services. But it is Curving Texas, who is a bit of a team legend amongst the parts, who will be returning to the team full-time for the final 5 rounds. And I believe he is incredibly excited to be reunited with team boss, myself, as well as his compatriots of Blocky and Tim to recreate that dream team.
Well, yeah, Curving Texas originally opted not to re-sign with Revo Satellite Racing and take what was planned to be a bit of a gap year, a bit of a sabbatical from Project One, but he has opted to make his return early. It was confirmed by Texas Camp, his management team, whatever, that he was actually gonna return to the series full time in season 9. But he saw the opportunity to fill that third Revo seat. He has a good history with Viper and Revo Satellite Racing because remember, Tex was there in seasons 6 and 7, so he's no stranger to the Revo team. And he saw that opportunity. Viper contacted him, and Tex is very, very determined to get in the car and help Revo secure third place in the championship. And honestly, right, Blocky, he did drop the 6th in the Drivers' Championship tonight. He could also be out here to try and help Blocky take a top 5 Drivers' Championship result as well.
Well, we've seen it as well. Most of the super subs have been very, very dedicated to getting Blocky his maiden championship. I think that's probably going to be a little bit far-fetched after missing the first round. But Viper, of course, being the second car in a 1-2 finish for Revo at Deep Forest. And who saw that coming, BK? I don't think anybody knew that was going to happen.
Honestly, if you looked at the form guide heading into that one, taking Viper's results out and just considering the full-time drivers, I don't think you would have expected a 1-2 back at Deep Forest, but it will be a very interesting finish for Revo because it seems like momentum has started to swing in their favour. Viper Z really showing he normally is a fantastic off-track leader, but he translated that onto the track in the Spa Sprint, the Deep Forest round, and here at the Nurburgring. He really stepped up, and the momentum swing at Revo is probably bigger in the last 3 weeks than any other team on the grid.
Couldn't agree more. We're going to see a bit of an upwards charge, but where does it stop? It's going to be a very tough final few rounds for the Porsche. Of course, Watkins Glen is going to be the next circuit on our calendar. A bit of an even stomping ground for all of these cars. I'm not sure we've really got a favourite. Maybe the Toyota Supra for Kennedy Motorsport is going to be pretty comfortable there. But of course, they're just going to be looking forward to Daytona, the big American Enduro, where their cars are going to be very comfortable, to say the least.
Yeah, and you know what? BK and Dynamite, they had a strong start to the season, but then they had a bit of we'll call it a mid-season slump with the amount of incidents that both of them ended up getting unfortunately caught up in. But honestly, the 3-5 today here at the Nürburgring, it was something that the Kennedy Motorsport team absolutely needed to try and regain some confidence because there are some tracks coming up on the calendar, tracks that we're visiting for the first time ever, by the way. Because the next 3 rounds in the championship are all tracks that this series has never visited before. So Kennedy Motorsport will be looking to make a mark in these races, and so far, they're the only team yet to win a race, and I'm sure that is something that is going to sit in the back of BK's mind.
And it'll be something I'm sure they are incredibly eager to change in the next couple of rounds. Before, of course, we head to Bathurst, our traditional ending of the Enduro Cup, before we wind up at Fuji, which has been the place of many a title given. Of course, I've got very fond memories of Fuji when, of course, we won the Season 4, I believe it was, title, when we had that amazing team of Dynamite, Blocky, and Tim get the job done.
Yeah, when Revo won the Season 5, I will correct you, that the Season 5 title in that BMW. Unfortunately for Revo, it was a bit of a fall-off after Season 6 when they narrowly missed out on the championship that season. They are coming off a wooden spoon result in Season 7, so I'm sure that... I think right now, mark my words, this could be the start of the turnaround for Revo Satellite Racing. I'm thinking they will come back in the second half of the season. I think they'll come back very strong.
I think you're right, and I think that's going to be the end of our stream for this afternoon. What an amazingly gripping race we had at the Nordschleife. Once again, congratulations to Lane for the win, and of course Viper and BK for rounding out the podium. And I, for one, cannot wait until we're back on track at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, well, next round at Watkins Glen, and Viper, I'm sure you'll bring a live commentary for the wonderful people on YouTube in about 4 hours' time.
I'll see how I go. There may have been a couple of things come up that might stop me doing a live, unfortunately. But we'll see how we go.
But anyway, thank you for joining Viper and myself this afternoon, and we will see you next time at Watkins Glen.
Thank you all very much, and have a great afternoon.